Here we go. This one's a little long, so bear with me. Hello, Bombcast. I've been thinking a lot recently about how the competitive scenes for a game often evolve to be very different from its original form. One common change made for competitive play is the removal of random game mechanics. For example, some shooters allow modifying gun spreads to be deterministic, such as Team Fortress 2, and competitive Smash tournaments to ban items. This is different from traditional sports that contain some amount of inherent randomness due to changes in things like wind conditions, weather, and other physical realities. To what degree do you think randomness has a place in competitive games? The common stance seems to be that it shouldn't exist since it can put lucky players in a stronger position. However, you can also argue that being able to compensate for a random game mechanic is as important and as important a skill for a player to have, presuming the random events are fairly generated and no single event can make or break a match. In real life, a golfer or field goal kicker that is able to compensate for windy days is a better player. Vince from New Jersey.
I started to say if it's in the game, then it counts. And then I thought back on our many times playing Mario Party. And maybe I'm having second thoughts about randomness in competitive games.
I think I'm like, if you're going to play a game competitively and you choose to play that game, you should choose to play that game. And I think making grand modifications to it to accommodate whatever specific rules you want to do, that should be taken as seriously as like Uno house rules, or like, this is how we play Monopoly in my house. We turn off items, like I would just say, like, pick it up, push start, play the game. And that should be the kind of default for a lot of games. And if you need to make a ton of changes to a game to make it feel like it's competitive and worth it for you, then maybe you should just choose a different game. I don't know. But also, like, there are certainly esports, like are there random elements in, like, there's like Roshan, does all that on a timer, and does all that behave identically, or is there stuff in like
that's
Dota
another point?
that's
Yeah,
like,
I want is that even in Smash, even in the stuff that is like unbanned, there's certain characters that have randomness. Randomness is always going to be a part of a lot of, like, even if it's not a part of like all Dota characters, there is some variance. Like Ogre Magi has a certain percent chance to do a multicast stun, right? Like, Roshan is on a timer that comes back between 8 and 11 minutes.
Isn't the multicast one that there's actually some underlying logic and you can kind of game it if you know what you're doing?
Well, there's the Valve, like how they handle randomness in Dota is a little different than actually like true randomness. They use like I forget what it's called.
Yeah, so like in cases where there's like a pseudo-random mechanic, like you could argue that's a skill that you develop to kind of min-max the randomness, right?
Yeah, and then Ian, like in the chat, brought up a great point of like battle royales. Like those are just super. The path you're playing is taking, where the circle's going, what loot you're gonna find. That's all pure randomness. I think that randomness deserves a spot, but I think the line here that they said in the email, where did it go? Presuming the random events are fairly generated and no single event can make or break a match. That's where you come into the stuff of like, okay, that's where item banning came from in Smash, because it'd be a thing of like, oh, we're playing and I knocked you off the edge and suddenly I've spawned a bomb and you have a 0% chance of recovering, and that's one of your stocks gone no matter what. Like, there's a level of randomness where you can plan for some randomness, but there's some things you cannot have a plan for. And it's like stuff like that, and stages that have random stage hazards where you literally can't make a plan for it. It like literally makes certain characters way stronger than other characters. Like, I think that's where that stuff comes from, and I think that's where I kind of am in line with it.
I think I'm with you in spirit, but also in a case where you've got a stage that has a stage hazard that makes some characters better than others, that actually sounds exciting, because then it influences like what characters you might pick and all that other stuff, instead of just everyone playing their main all the time, no matter what. Like if it becomes
a fighting like game though, people want to play their main.
Well, no, it's not. But like people want to play their main, but like, what if they didn't? What if they had to have multiple mains depending on what stage got chosen? What if they had to be good at more than just their main?
That's a thing now, actually. Like, but like like there's footage of one particular, Smash fans will know this, but there's footage of one particular stage or game where a player playing Ganondorf literally couldn't reach a Peach player because she's able to hover back and forth between the two platforms that are unreachable by the character. And it's just straight up, literally, if that is your main, you're fucked and you are fucked. And I don't think that that level of fucked is fair. I think that like Final Destination existing as a counterpick for Fox and Falco because you can chain grab as Marth, blah, blah, blah. That's something you can deal with because there are pros and cons. I'm not saying like every game should be set on Battlefield or whatever, but there's levels to it, you know? And it's like something that comes, a lot of people don't know, like Melee was played competitively with items on for like 4 years. Like it took them time to get to where they got.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they had to like weigh that out and be like, actually, this is more fair. But like in your Ganon situation, like, okay, maybe this game wasn't built for that. Then, if that's something that's still in the game that they don't care about, yeah, then at some point, like at some point you just look at that and go like, okay, how far are you going to go to bend this game to your will just so you can maintain a scene around it if the people making the game are not catering to
if they really like the
all.
game as far as they want, like as far as
I
they
guess
can.
so.
And a lot of
But,
people were into it.
I would argue that if like those are the sorts of changes they have to make, do they really like the game?
Yes.
I mean, or do they just like their particular specific cordoned off, we've like farmed or like over time honed our way into this rule set the same way. Like I don't play Uno the way Uno is out of the box because it fucking sucks. I think stock Uno is fucking boring as hell. But when you start layering on like, oh, actually I want the penalty cards to build up as you go and all this other stuff, then that becomes like, well,
I mean, it's obvious. Like, yes, these people love the game. That's why they're sticking with it. They love how the game feels. They just wish that, like, I don't think it's that insane to say like this Nintendo party game has some stuff in it that's complete bullshit, but it also has all these systems in it that people really love and want to engage with and want to play for 15 years worth of fun. I don't know. I
think it's
you
just
can
a matter of like
both ways.
acknowledging what they're doing and not necessarily saying like, you know, Smash Bros is a great game. It's like, no, that's specific. And I think once you start saying I only like to play it this specific way and all this other stuff, like it's kind of a different thing.
I mean, we're in agreement there. I think it's a totally different thing, and I think it's fine. I think it's great, actually.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think that's like a disqualifying thing, but at some point it's like, I don't know, like just play the game as it was built, and if you don't like it, play something else. Like, don't, you know, why would you go fix these things for the company that can't even be bothered to care about you? Just go play something else, right? I mean,
that's one's a slippery slope because that's a lot of video games that I play. I feel like the companies don't really care about me.
Yeah, no, that's
an important life lesson to learn.
But I think that's the thing about like esports in a lot of cases, or I don't know, like we're starting to see more of that split of like look at Valorant. Like that game had a scene before it existed, you know, like they pumped it hard. They gave it to all the right esports people to try to build this scene, and it exists whether you like it or not. Valorant is an esports game, and it will be for some chunk of time, and maybe people will move on or whatever, but like they did it. So like, do you think that do you think esports games should be built first and foremost for that type of serious high stakes competitive play? Or do you think like when people take games that are not meant for that, like I think it's kind of fun when people take games that are not necessarily meant for that and try to take it super seriously, but when they start trying to fudge the rules and all this other stuff to make it into something it's not, I look at it and go like, you just go do something else. If you care that, like, because you see people getting mad about like, I can't believe they're not supporting the community. It's like, well, actually, isn't the Smash community like millions more players than just the people that care about esports? And like, don't they count too? And all that. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's
I don't know. Like turning off items is in the game. Like I feel like
totally,
it's
yeah,
not that,
yeah.
Calling
it's not
it
that,
like a weird.
Yeah, they're not
twist
like
isn't
modding
that.
it or anything. I agree with you there.
Look at
not
the 20XX mod that gets rid of the stages that are banned.
Well, yeah, there is that, but like once you start coming up with a ton of house rules, I think it gets back to my Uno thing of just like, you know, I wouldn't go if I was trying to play Uno for money, which I have done, but if I were trying to play Uno for money and not just in my house against people, but like if there was some organized Uno thing, I would not get there and expect them to be playing Uno the exact rule set that I like.
Sure, but if they posted an online Facebook event and said these are the rules of Uno that we're playing, you'll know that ahead of the time. Like
Exactly,
how
yeah.
every
And
Melee tournament is standardized.
but like I would then be like, well, I'm not going to go to that because they're playing some bullshit.
You don't have to go.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think the competitive scene around stuff is just, it's a fascinating time for video games, I think is what I'm getting at here around like
There's never been a better time.
There's never been a better time to fucking ignore competitive video games. But I think like that's the thing is like as someone who likes playing games against people but is never going to want to take them seriously to the extent that esports players do, I'm finding that there are decisions being made to make games more esports that are alienating to the wider player base.
I agree with that. Totally.
And I think that's like a frustrating thing. And so that's why like I look at games like Valorant and go like, they're going for it out of the gate. They're wearing that shit on their fucking sleeve. Like Crucible launches tomorrow. Like they want that game to be like that.
Yeah.
And they, you know, build it out of the gate, build your esports strategy, build all your shit, and you know, wear it on your sleeve so that people that are not interested in that shit can just fucking ignore it. Like I spent some time with Valorant. I will probably never play it again because I feel like got a pretty good handle on what that game is and what they're going for. Totally. It's not what I'm here for. So.
Yeah, and it's like why I approach Valorant as I like playing this casually with a full stack of friends, but the second it gets competitive or people want to do ranked, I'm out because like I don't want to take it as seriously as I need to if I want to feel like I'm pulling my weight or whatever.
Totally. Like I'm not looking for that type of pressure in games, or when I am, I'm looking for it from a fighting game. Like that's, you know, and I'm never going to be esports good at a fucking fighting game, but I still like getting in there and mixing it up and doing what I can. And if I get blown the fuck up over and over again, I look at it and go like, well, yeah, of course. I mean, yeah, with the amount of time I put into this and, you know, like, sure, I'm never going to be fucking amazing at some of these games, but, you know, I'll win some here and there and against like-minded individuals or similarly skilled players, I'll win and lose and have a good time. I think that's what I'm looking for out of games. And I think games that are not trying to, I think that's maybe like, it's probably the core of my issue with Smash is that I feel like Smash is very much trying to cater to that type of attitude. But then you've got this whole group of people out there that to where like when you talk about playing Smash with other people, it now just means that. And I know that there are millions of people that are probably playing it that are not that. But when you think about it, it's just that. And I don't want to be that. I don't want to fuck with that. I'm not interested in that. So, I don't know. I feel like Smash is alienating, I guess, in a sense.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think a lot of that, too, comes from the fact that it is just so grassroots and it's such an old game. And there is that level of like, I can't think of the word right now, but that kind of turning your nose up at newer people, you know, there's that like, oh, I've been in the scene for, you know, 10 years or whatever. Yeah. But like a lot of that comes from the defensiveness of people who are like, oh, you're not playing a real fighting game, or, oh, you're like, just go play a real game, or, you know, stuff like that. Like it goes both ways.
Sure. They should just play a real fighting game.
And you should get good. Like it all comes full circle.
I refuse. Hey, you know what? Maybe I did get good at Smash Brothers out of the box, but they don't play it that way, so I'll never fucking know. Maybe I'm the best default ass Smash Brothers player in the world. Maybe.
You guys want to play some TMNT tournament fighters?
Now you're fucking
hell
talking.
Yeah.
I got this little doohickey here. I can take it wherever
that
I want.
Guy, his flash kick goes like full screen and it's unpunishable. It's insane.
All right.